All right, well, it's been a while between drinks, but we're finally back. We've finally got our shit together, and we've got a new film to talk about today. So if everyone can cast their minds all the way back, we did Inner Space. I think it was probably about September or something last year.
Yes.
If I can even remember. I don't know, but if anyone can actually remember, it was Slaney who picked today's film, which is the 1994 classic.
It is 94. Speed.
Give me 100.
Yeah, so I've chosen Speed. Childhood classic. One of my favorites. And in all honesty, I still watch it today and still love it just as much. To be honest, it's not one of those films where you watch it as a kid and then you watch it as an adult and you're like, some films you're like, oh, really? I enjoyed that as a kid, but I actually really enjoyed this.
I don't know about that.
So
I'm not too sure.
When you pick Speed, I was like, oh yeah, cool. I've seen it heaps. I enjoy it, but I was like, oh yeah, all right, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Opening titles, and I was in.
I was
man.
sold,
I
right?
was so in.
Yeah.
So sold. Because this is kind of like this is a sick movie, yeah? Kind of for you? I know you've changed, but...
So just to bring everyone else up to speed, Timmy and I have what we call sick movies, where you pray for a sick day so you can watch this film. So for a long time it was Speed. For a really long time it was Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yeah. The original or the Nick Cage?
No, it was the Nick Cage one.
Nick Cage,
one's
okay.
Well, now, the idea behind it is that it's a film that you don't have to think about, right, for starters, and secondly, you know it so well that
you can fall asleep.
You can fall asleep.
You can, because you're sick, you can fall asleep on the couch and wake up and just be like, yeah, not miss a beat.
Continue on.
My current sick movie, just for those playing at home, is the 2012 Dread.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Mine's,
There's a
a
discussion
great
for another
film.
time.
I don't so much have a sick movie. I have a hangover movie,
Well,
which
I
is
think
really
that-
weird because the way I watch it is like the worst thing ever for a hangover. So I pretty much sit on the couch, crank up the stereo, and just go nuts on Transformers.
I've been there.
Which is like, and just sit there.
That
with,
is
like,
a terrible hangover movie.
I know,
There's
it's
so
awful.
much going on.
But that's the thing. It's just my hangover film.
it's
That's
just
what I do.
shrapnel in your face.
It was like
Yeah.
a standard Saturday or Sunday morning for us for a while.
about 4 years.
It was like go to Brad's house and watch Transformers. That's just what we did.
Not say a word.
and
to each other.
never speak of it again.
It was so loud.
And then do
So-
it next week.
Amazing. So Speed, the sick movie. All right, that's a good way of looking at it. It's to me, it's just too action packed to be a chilled out. I could fall asleep through this. I'm just like the whole time. I am just like, yeah, like this is intense, man. Like even the opening sequence, like going down the elevator shaft. There's this great long shot of going down the elevator shaft. And the music that's playing, I love it because it takes you through like every emotion that you're going to experience through the entire film. Like one moment the music's like soft, the next moment it's really intense, and you're like, whoa, what am I getting into here?
I feel like it's a proper overture.
Yes.
Like at the start of a musical or a play, they play bits of the whole
Yeah.
production.
Yes.
And it's exactly what it was. It was this like, this is going to happen and this is going to... You don't know what any of that means yet, but because the music cues are so strong, you get that like, oh, this bit's going to be exciting and this bit, well, it's all going to be exciting.
Yeah, exactly right. No,
Right.
that's what I really loved about it, is the fact that the music just did that. So
Before we get carried away, let's set the scene.
absolutely.
Good call.
So here we go for our
Well played.
good pullback there.
Yeah, it was very
Cool.
nice.
All right, so here we go with History with Brad.
Brad.
Okay, thank you. 1994. There's basically three things you need to know about 1994. I finished year 12. Ayrton Senna died, and the greatest rock album in history of the world, Offspring Smash, was released. Done. A few other things happened too. So Kurt Cobain died.
Yeah.
O.J. Simpson went on his, in the Bronco, heading for the border. Yeah, let's go. And there was a few, let's say, groundbreaking films in 1994. So just a couple off the top of the head: Shawshank Redemption, Forrest Gump, The Lion King, Pulp Fiction, True Lies,
Wow.
and Muriel's Wedding.
Nice. It's a classic.
So there's some big things to back this film up against. So if you actually think about Speed, and then match it up against those films, you go, wow, okay.
That is a
big
tough
call.
year for films.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're releasing
Huge,
a film in
huge
94,
year.
you got some competition.
You know what? And I would actually say, looking at those films, I would actually say Speed probably in the box office smashed Shawshank.
Absolutely,
yeah.
it did.
Yeah.
Shawshank, when it came out, was a dud.
Yeah.
It
An
got
absolute flop.
It got its success on its VHS release.
Yeah.
That's where everyone's like, "Oh, actually, this is really good."
And now it's been
And
number
you've
one
been
on
framed.
IMDb's thing for what? Basically ever since it was
Forever.
released.
Yeah,
so-
pretty much.
Crawled through a river of shit.
Do we happen to know what
Came out the other side.
what was number one in the box office in '94?
Looking at that, that'd be a big call between The Lion King and Forrest Gump.
Ooh, yeah, good call.
Yeah, Forrest Gump won a lot of Oscars that year.
It did.
You'd think we'd know this stuff, but we don't.
You'd
But-
think we would
so
have done some research on that.
It's all right,
Yeah.
I'll look it up.
I tell you what, I did find out about Jan de Bont. Jan
Oh.
de Bont directed this film. Now,
He did.
Jan de Bont has directed some interesting films.
Yes,
he did
he
Speed
has.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did Lara Croft 2. He did Speed. He did Twister. But where it gets cool,
Why did you lump Twister in with those abominations? That's what I
because
want
he
to know.
directed it, man. I don't-
Twister's in there. It's
Twister made a lot of money.
Where it gets cool is Jan de Bont was originally a DOP, right? A director of photography. So he was the guy behind the camera
Yes.
shooting it. Now, he's done this 57 times prior to directing Speed. You ready for some of these? Lethal Weapon 3, Basic Instinct,
Yeah.
Hunt for Red October,
Yeah.
and most importantly in this room, ladies, gentlemen, Die Hard.
ooh.
All right, so this guy was a DOP for Die Hard, and in fact, a couple of
Nice.
things in Speed came from his work in Die Hard.
You can
When you
sort of-
say
can
when you
see
say
that.
came from, you mean his similar work, or they literally actually used footage
No,
from
like
Die
he,
Hard?
no, like he
Okay.
came up with some ideas for
Yeah.
Speed while working on Die Hard.
Ah, cool.
Cool.
I got another fun fact, and this one's pretty cool. Joss Whedon actually wrote this film. Right? It's credited as someone else, but Joss Whedon came in. He's known around Hollywood as the script doctor, so people would take stuff to him and go, "This is not very good," and he would rewrite it. So he did this to Speed. Now Keanu Reeves wasn't going to do Speed, but then Joss Whedon rewrote it, and Keanu Reeves was on board with that. So it would have been a very, very different film
Yeah.
without the script doctor's involvement.
And just going back, just sorry to jump in, Forrest Gump beat Lion King.
Ooh. Wow. I could have sworn that'd be the other way because
Their opening, I
That
think
would have been pretty close.
the
would've been.
opening in theaters, Forrest Gump 24 mil, and Lion King was 1 mil, 1.5. So
Really?
wow.
there you go.
Times have changed, isn't
right.
it? Like these days, opening weekends are like $300 million or something. Isn't it like some
Well,
insane number?
Yeah, it was. I don't know how out of date this is. It might be completely.
All right. Well, let's put that in another perspective. What made more on the soundtrack?
Ooh.
Forrest, you know what? The Forrest Gump soundtrack was pretty big.
That was
So
pretty
was the
good.
Lion King one. So
is there
I'll
a
tell you-
Forrest Gump musical?
Ooh.
Anyway, we digress.
Speaking of soundtracks, though, like the whole score for Speed is like the most
one song.
awesome score. It's the most awesome soundtrack ever. You know, like Katie and I came up with this this thing many years ago when we were watching it, and Katie says, you know, it's kind of like the music's telling you to look at the TV screen because it's like action is happening. Look at the TV screen. It's just like that, like through the whole film. It's just like look at the screen through the music. It's intense. I love it.
I feel like intense is the best word for this film. Like it is, it is
yes.
literally happening all the time.
Yep.
And it starts like super early. Like
Yep.
they get to the bottom of the lift, and there's that security guard.
Death in the first 5 minutes.
And Dennis Hopper's like, "Oh, hey man, screwdriver in the ear." It's like, whoa.
That's it.
Well, let's go into it. I mean, that first scene, and we'll start with the credits because you probably know about it, the model of the lift shaft. So it was a 1/8.
Yeah.
I think they built a 1/8 scale lift shaft just to do the opening credits, and then the title. So the doom when Speed comes up is on the 32nd floor,
Yeah. Oh,
which
nice.
is when we get to it is where the lift actually
Oh,
stops.
Timmy, well played.
And then after the title comes in, the music goes from like this kind of dark to just dun, 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 all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this point of, you know, once that moment happens, the action starts.
It's on.
It's on.
I didn't realize that. That's sharp.
But yeah, like it's a good scene, and I'd like kind of you to get into your why,
Why Speed is the sequel to Point Break.
because we haven't forgotten. Let's face it,
absolutely.
It's been on our minds for 7 months.
Going, why the hell would he link those two films together? But no, that's all right.
But no, I think it's a good opening because it sets the scene in terms of this kind of ongoing battle pretty much for the whole film between these two characters. So,
Well, in regards to my theory, my very light theory, I have constructed a bit of a makeshift preview if the two worlds were actually linked together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this preview that I've come up with, an audio preview for what I believe Speed is and the way it's linked to Point Break. And then after we've played it, we'll have some discussions around it. So have a listen to this. I'm going to hit play and see what you think.
I have a feeling this is going to be magic.
2 years have passed since Johnny Utah took down the man he was hunting.
He's so persistent, he always gets his man.
After being forced into a bank robbery while working undercover for the FBI,
I am an FBI agent. I know, man. Isn't it wild?
Johnny Utah changes his name to Jack Traven to protect his identity and joins up with the most extreme police force in America, the Los Angeles Police Department. Using his extreme skills and desire for the intense, Jack Traven is gonna take down this bad guy using the most extreme methods possible. Who knew that it would be his ex-football career knowledge that would save the day so they could figure out what the bad guy was up to?
You go to the University of Arizona?
Yeah, so?
Good football team.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't really know.
So join us on this mega epic extreme adventure, which in a lot of ways you could almost call the sequel to Point Break if you connect a lot of dots that aren't really there, but you kind of get the idea. You get it. Join us on this epic adventure. Speed. Buster couldn't slow down.
And that brings us to the end of our podcast.
So yeah,
Magic.
Makes
That
a
was
lot of
actually
sense.
better than the film.
not too bad.
oh my god.
So I whipped that up together in like an hour after
amazing.
work this afternoon. I was like frantically like, oh, I've been, laying down these claims. I better make a preview or something to demonstrate it. So,
Oh my god.
all right.
Jesus.
So there are a couple of I really like the introduction of the characters because it's bananas. All you see is this car launch, like in the total Dukes of Hazzards, like
Yeah. Best way to introduce a cop car, I reckon.
Well,
Yeah, in the air.
Going back to Point Break, right? So the end of Point Break, he's walking on the beach. He's just looking around. He throws his badge into the water. He's shitty. He's pissed off. Whatever.
FBI badge, gets rid of it.
At the start of this film, he is just like the most downer of the whole thing. Like there was this one quote that caught me at the start. It was like someone, I think it might have been Captain McMahon. He said something like, "Oh, how do we stop the lift from falling?" And he just says, kind of under his breath, "The basement." It's like, dude, what is wrong with you, man? Like,
I think it's what really works in the intensity of it all. You don't know anything about these guys.
yeah.
And you don't need to, really. Like, all we need to know is that this is full on and this is their job and they do this every day and that's just how they are. Like, there's no tragic backstory, there's no flashbacks.
Actually, I made a note about that. Like the fact that it's just they're just it kind of takes that standard kind of Hollywood movie drama out of it, and he's just a SWAT cop he's just out doing what he's doing. He's like, right, we just got to do it. This is what we're gonna do. Boom. There's like he's
Chewing bubblegum and kicking ass.
chewing bubblegum and kicking ass. Right. One thing I
hasn't
noticed
run out
about
of gum yet.
one thing I noticed about his character is that he's really calm and really professional for if he's, for example, the lady in the elevator when she's refusing to come out, when she's too afraid, and she's like, no, he's like, come on, lady, just take my hand, let's go. But then in an instant, just gives up on that. Obviously, he's done it by the book, and then he's just like, come on! It was like, just screams at her to come, and he does that a couple of times throughout the movie, and I really like that, and obviously he's very by the book, but only for a very short amount of time, and then he just cracks it, so I really like that about his character. That's one thing I really enjoyed, so... But yeah.
Funniest bit about that is when everyone gets out of the lift and it's like, we need to get all these people out of here. And that classic line when they're all running away and the lady that was last to come out of the lift goes, "My shoe!"
I love what Dennis Hopper brings to this film.
A lot.
So much. Like, he's just, I don't know, he does bad guy really well, but he does like that sort of smart but crazy bad guy. Like, one of my favorite parts, I reckon, is, you know, when they're in the basement and he's got Harry by the neck and Harry's like, shoot the hostage. And Hopper just yells, "Oh, we got all the balls in the world here."
Oh, such a good line.
You just feel like that wasn't in the script.
Yeah.
And that was just like Hopper really owning it. I love that kind of stuff, you know? Like, it's just that really visceral intensity.
I found his character interesting because everyone calls him, they're all like, "Oh, he's insane." And even he makes a point of it on the news. They're like, "You're a whim of a madman." Yeah. But I just don't see him really as that insane in the film. I see him as a guy who is just pissed off, wants a lot of money. I don't see him as insane through the movie. Like, they're all like, "Oh, he's insane, might have lost his mind."
Yeah, like, splitting off for a second,
Yep.
when you look at something like Heath Ledger's Joker, and that works so well because that sort of insanity was threaded into the film. There was no, like, consistent appearance of Joker. He was just like there, and then he wasn't. He was there, and then this bit and that bit. He was kind of all over the place. Whereas, Hopper's like methodical and just like, no, you screwed me over. I want my money.
I want my money. Give me some.
There's no
cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And I through the whole film, like, because I watched it a few times, like, and I'm kind of like, is he insane? I'm like, has this guy lost his mind, or is he just genuinely pissed off? And wants money. But the thing I couldn't figure out that kind of made me think maybe he is insane is the fact that, why is he pissed off, right? Okay, so he got injured with the police force. He got his gold watch, his retirement, blah, blah, blah. He's drawing a pension, obviously a disability pension, I'd guess. But what's he actually pissed off at? Why does he go for the money? Like, he's like, "I'm getting what's owed to me." You know, like, and I'm kind of like, what is owed to you, dude? Like, or is he just an angry guy?
How about a thumb?
Well, yeah, but obviously...
Opposable digits, Jules. It's what makes us, like, top of the food chain.
Yeah, but I suppose that's one of the things, like... I mean, he's obviously... he got a medal and all that. I mean, I suppose... I wonder if they give cops payouts when they get injured in the line of duty, or whether they just get put onto disability or something, but...
Someone phone in and tell us.
Yeah, if anyone works for the... America, anywhere...
If anyone works for America,
let us know.
Just let us know.
Because obviously, whatever happened. Like, it wasn't a recent thing, I don't think. Because he was preparing. He prepared that first job for 2 years.
They said that he retired in '89.
Right.
So the movie's in '94. So obviously, there's 5 years there. So it's 5 years earlier. I'm 99% sure it was '89 when they finally figure out who he is.
Yeah.
They say it's '89. Retired in '89 because of his injury.
Yeah.
So for 3 years, he was sitting there just pissed off, not knowing what to do about it. And then he spent 2 years planning it. For 2 years, it's a pretty crappy plan.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because, okay, I can see, like, all the rigs on the lift to be, but the guy had no visual from where he was.
Yeah.
He was relying purely on sound, which it didn't even... Like, I wasn't even that convinced that he could hear a whole lot.
Because he kept, like, touching his ear
like,
and squinting.
He was really struggling.
What's going on?
So, the thing that could come back to the insanity part of it is... Because he blew the lift when he thought something was up.
Yeah.
But how much did he know something was up, or was he going to blow the lift anyway? Because Jack thought he was going to blow the lift.
Jack thought he was going to blow.
But that's just Jack because he's a SWAT guy and everything's going to go bad. But if he's not too sure in terms of what's actually going on, because he can like hear climbing and rigging and all this kind of weird stuff, tings in the cables or whatever. I don't know if he could hear people talking. He probably could, I guess. But, I mean...
Yeah, because remember later he's like, pop quiz... You know, he could hear that whole conversation.
But I would have thought he'd be way more set up than what he was.
Yeah, because really, what he put explosives on the cables.
Yeah.
And then explosive on the emergency brakes.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And he wore a bomb vest.
Yeah.
So
just in case.
Just in case, yeah. Like, so where did the other 1 year?
We just planned
364 days and 11 hours go. You know, like it's interesting. But it was a pretty crappy plan overall. I think. I mean, he's locked himself in the building. He's in the elevator. It's like,
Yeah.
where's he gonna go?
And it's the only elevator that's moving. If they shut down all the elevators, they're going to figure out that he's in that one if he's moving up and down in it.
But he is wearing the bomb vest, and there is the whole decoy thing on what floor the lift is on, and he blows himself up supposedly.
Yeah.
Maybe the intention was for them to see him and blow up and do his.
It just seems like such a radical jump in planning from his lift exploits to the bus.
Yeah.
It seems like he was just way more like with the money drop off and also stuff like
He seemed a lot more like, and that's one thing that the film doesn't really set up is how long between.
yeah. What's the time
Like
frame?
it's obviously I want to go back and talk about the medal ceremony stuff, but
yes.
the bus happens the day after the medal ceremony, right?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because he was hungover.
Because they're both hungover.
Yeah.
Now you imagine watching Transformers, Brad. Now imagine the day that Jack Draven had.
I did. I was thinking the same
That
thing.
guy's a superhero.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And he left his coffee on the top of his car when he drove off.
Well, he nearly left his muffin in
almost-
the
Yeah.
shop.
Jeez,
But he takes off, and the
surprised
coffee doesn't
coffee's
move
still
from the
there.
top. I would have gone, no, stop, drink the coffee, then we go.
I'm not doing anything till I've had my coffee.
Clearly, hangover Brad is different to Jack Traven.
Very much so.
Hangover Jack
Just
Traven.
go, bus blew up, wait,
Just hang on a minute.
Hold on.
We do this tomorrow.
and we're good. Yeah, let's go.
So what were we going to say about the medal presentation, Al? Because I
Well-
wanted to touch something on this as well.
Well, it wasn't so much the medal presentation; it was more the party afterwards. Right? I fundamentally, I feel like Jeff Daniels was, I don't know, just I felt like a miscasting to me. I didn't believe him as a SWAT guy.
No.
I mean, he worked behind the desk, but I don't know. However, Harry's drunk scene is amazing.
Yeah.
Right? That is a brilliant piece of acting from Jeff Daniels. So he's like, and he's all woozy and slurry behind the bar, and he's like, I'm gonna go home and have some sex.
Yeah.
You're gonna go home and throw up. Yeah, well, that'll be fun too. Like, he's really good. Go back and watch that scene. He's really good drunk. You could have been dead. Like, so
I got a bullet in me, 6 inches off the mark, and they're sending the medal home to my wife. That's
pretty good, man. That's pretty good.
Just call me Jeff Daniels.
So I was like, oh.
And do they televise those metal things?
Yeah, that's a good point. Clearly they do.
Way to go, Jack.
Because that's kind of a bit of the, mentioning podcast alert, how this get made when they're talking about Godzilla and the old guy going, Godzilla. And they're saying that that's just the movie on a TV in the movie. That's kind of what the ceremony felt like to me. It's like it's the movie on a TV in the movie that he's watching.
Movieception.
Yeah, movieception.
So before we move on, just with the medal ceremony right now, I'm assuming that whole medal ceremony is obviously for the elevator bombing, fiasco. Now, there are 4 other cops.
Yeah, I noticed that too. What the hell did they do?
What the hell did they do? As far as I'm concerned, it was, Jack and Harry were
Well,
running around.
it could have been like these things probably don't happen after everything. They probably happen maybe once a year, and it was another event that happened in the year.
Possibly.
How often do you reckon these like major events happen? In
I
LA?
don't know.
Like,
It's an action film,
Dude,
man.
it's America,
all the
man,
time.
all the time.
So we've had the party. He's hungover as hell. He's getting his coffee. He's getting his muffin. His mate, who's the bus driver, so clearly gets coffee from the same place daily.
Every day, same time.
Is a point for the bomber to make himself known again.
Yeah. So another good question about how long between the lift and the bus events, because Hopper would have had to have been Howard Payne, which is a great name.
Yeah.
Would have had to have been watching.
Well, okay.
He would have been studying Jack to find out that he goes here for coffee and he knows this bus driver. Oh, maybe I'll do a bus thing. Like, it's effectively, it's about him getting his money right, but it's largely about
It's within, I
getting
would
Jack
say,
back.
it's within 6 months, I reckon.
Yeah.
Because I think the emotion is still high for all the cops at the party, for starters. Obviously, Harry's limping still, so he's still injured from his bullet wound. So it's almost like I think it's pretty close. Like it's almost like the lift thing was like it's like he's been following Jack for a while. The lift thing might have been a tester, see how he would go, and the main event was then the bus.
So you're saying the bus was always going to happen,
Surely the bus is being planned
regardless of
from
how
the
the
start.
lift went down. Say he got all his money from the lift.
Which he was going to. That's the other thing that shits me about Captain McMahon is like the first thing he says is, "We need to get the money." It's like, what? It's like even I know the first rule of being a cop captain is not to negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's got that feeling like the bus was always the main event.
Interesting.
I suppose that's why they called it Speed and not
Lift.
Fall.
Fall. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, because he had to rig up 2 public buses with this thing.
And I suppose coming up with calculating the fact that the bus would be able to drive around in Los Angeles at 50 miles an hour may take a couple of years of planning. So the lift plus the buses, I could see that being 2 years of planning,
Plus, he wants Jack to get to it. He wants Jack to get to
Yeah,
the
he tells
bus
him
to
where
get
it
on the
is.
bus.
Yeah.
So he's obviously planned it so the bus is on the freeway, which is going to get up to the 50, and it'll probably stay above 50 for a while to allow Jack to get to it.
You know, one thing actually that kind of annoyed me, well, it didn't annoy me, it was just like, you could have diffused the whole situation far quicker if you had just not broken on the window on the bus when you were trying to chase it down. If he had run up to the bus and knocked on it and gone, "Excuse me, sir, I'm a LAPD with my badge," that bus never would have gone over 50. But the fact that he runs up to the side of the bus and the first thing that he does is just smash the window. That's surely of course the bus driver's not going to stop then, but
He's going to lock the door and hit the gas.
This is the brilliant
Yeah.
of Jack Traven, man. This guy
it.
is just, he's all about just action-packed.
yep, you know where
Get the bag going.
You know where he got all that action packed, all that adrenaline pumping? Hanging out with a young chap named Bodhisattva. Hanging out with him, getting into skydiving and surfing and shit. Now he's got a taste for the extreme.
Now he's an adrenaline junkie.
No,
Absolutely.
it's because he felt he failed with Bodhi. Therefore, he was like perpetually shitty now.
Yeah.
And therefore, he is overly aggressive with everything he does.
You could tell this was made by a cinematographer. Like, the camera work was really nice. There was a lot of really, like, handheld stuff going on the bus. You know, there was these, like, tracking shots up and down the bus, like, sort of... You felt like you were obviously right there, and you were one of these passengers going, you know, like... There were a lot of long shots of Jack and Annie up the front where we didn't really know what was happening. You know, they're doing stuff up there, and the camera kind of creeps up like, "Hey, what's going on? Can you tell us?"
Like a passenger.
Yeah, like we were a passenger on the bus. I really loved all that stuff. And, you know, it felt like you were there. I
Yeah, it felt
reckon.
like you were a passenger on the
Yeah.
bus. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll tell you, one of my favourite shots of this whole movie is just before the bus does the epic jump over the bridge, right? Now, I think we'll have to come back to that. But
I think we're about to
Please,
talk about the same
please.
thing. But
really, all right, so...
The lead up to that?
Okay, so leading up to it, one of my favourite shots is it's an aerial shot. And it's basically where they realise that, oh my God, the bridge is not made. And that scene also contains my favourite line, which is... you fucking fired, everybody's fucking fired, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I love that line, right? But the shot that I'm referring to is when the cop cars start peeling off, and they're like, "Oh, damn, you know, like the bus is gonna have to go on."
You're
All
on
the
your
cops,
own.
you're on your own, and it's this aerial shot, right? Shot from a helicopter, and you see the bus come out in front, and all the cop cars and all that peel off to the
Yeah,
sides.
yeah.
It's an epic shot.
The
It is
music
such a
fits
good
that
shot.
brilliantly.
It
Just
does.
like, dun, 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 dun.
That's it, exactly right. So, oh, you killed it.
so I was going to talk about the lead up a bit earlier than that.
Okay.
You know, we get to meet Annie and her life and what she's, you know, why she's on the bus.
Yep.
And she moves away from the tourist, which is really like, that's all really nice. Like, people didn't really know Sandra Bullock. I mean, she wasn't this made her massive, this film.
Yeah, this was her
Yeah, I
first proper
think-
big film.
Yeah.
Well, when was The Net made?
No, it was
Oh,
after
that was
this.
like
That was
98
after.
or
Oh,
something.
was it?
No,
Okay.
no, no, I think it was 94 as well, but it was after this. I
Okay.
think on IMDb, if we want to check that.
I'll check
I think it was after
Reputable source.
Thank you, Timmy.
Yep.
Source of information.
But you know, the driver gets shot, which is insane, but it happens. Having said that, I would also like to know a bit of backstory. I'd want someone to write a bit of fan fiction
95
about that criminal, about the, you know,
Yeah.
leave me alone.
The guy on the bus.
Yeah, with the gun. I want to know like how he got to being on the, you know, like anyway.
What did he
And
do?
he had that really awesome like 90s goatee, you know,
Oh,
just like the little square bit
I'm not
on
a
the
cop
back.
now. See?
I'm putting my gun away.
But there's a shot when they get on that freeway, right? And there's like, all right, there's a hard right coming up, and he's like, we're gonna tip over. Everyone get on this side of the bus, put your bet, you know, like there's this whole prep.
Yeah.
And then Annie puts on the indicator.
Yeah.
Right? And it's this close up of the indicator, and it's this moment. It's kind of this moment of levity. It's like, it's funny,
Yeah.
but it's also this like, it feels like this reflection of the trauma that she's in as well, like how she's coping with this situation.
Trying to be normal.
That's it. Basic
Yeah,
motor
she's like-
skills are coming in of just
Yeah,
just
that's
put on the
right. You're sort of
indicator, you know.
reverting back to you know,
Yeah.
basic driving, and it to me it screamed a lot about how she was dealing with that situation, because you know she was like, oh, you know, really apprehensive, and
Yeah.
but that was like a real, I'm driving this bus now.
That's awesome.
We're going to make this corner.
I never noticed it before. I'm definitely watching this movie again.
Of course, we're going to watch it again. Yeah.
But I have to keep an eye out for, like, without talking too much about random shots that we love, there is a shot that is truly awesome, because while it's not the most technical shot in the world, it's kind of like one of these, we do it once and we have to get it right. And it's the shot where, going back towards the start, when the first bus blows up, and Jack's walking out of the cafe just after he's forgotten his muffin, and he walks out and he walks around his car. Now, it's all one shot. So him coming out of the cafe, and he walks around to the side of his car, and then in the background, the bus blows up, right? And it's just, it's not the longest shot in the world, but you know, it's kind of one of these ones where...
It's quite a technical shot.
It is quite- yeah,
a lot
like-
goes into that kind of thing.
Exactly right. Like, yeah, behind the scenes from the pyro, blowing the bus up, and obviously the camera guys can't stuff up. And there would have been like some guy on a radio sitting there going, just waiting to scream, abort, you know, like, just in case the camera guy trips over or something. You know, it's quite a difficult little setup that they did. I was really impressed by that. That
But
was really
super
cool.
effective, because
Yeah.
you were
Super
totally with Jack at that point.
Exactly.
And you don't expect
You
it.
don't expect it, yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, he's got his muffin, he's just on his way to work.
That's it.
And then
Boom.
bang. it all
And
happens
what
in one
was
shot.
the trigger for the bomb? Was he sitting there remotely pressing it?
I reckon,
Or was
yeah.
it when it got up to a certain speed?
No, I think he...
I reckon it was remote. I don't think we see a remote, but I reckon because he's sitting there watching Jack get his muffin, and yeah, I reckon he would have sat there and triggered it himself. So
Yeah.
I wonder how many takes it took.
Well,
Just sitting there going,
yeah,
take 735, get another bus.
another bus driver.
there's a shot... So I was just about to start talking about the airport when they get to the airport. But there's a shot where the bus comes around the corner and a plane takes off.
Oh, I
Yeah,
think
you
I remember the
that
shot
one?
you're talking about.
And
yeah.
that one, I read somewhere, that one took like some ridiculous amount of takes.
Was it worth it?
To line up.
Totally.
It was pretty nice, too.
It was a good shot. If you're sitting there
Like,
noticing
yeah,
those
we're at the
shots.
airport.
It made all the really simple people realize that they were at the airport.
we're at the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really
I've already
quickly,
seen the airport.
one of those things that it's kind of made it into the final cut of the film, where you look at it and go, all right, everyone on the bus should be dead. Is as they're coming onto a freeway, I think it's when they're coming onto that closed freeway after that gnarly right hand turn. There's a shot of the bus. It's quite a wide angle shot where this cop car kind of gets in the way and the bus jams on its brakes.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
you
noticed that, actually,
you
yeah.
see the whole bus virtually lurch to a stop, and then it takes off again. And I'm like, that bus ain't doing 50 miles an hour. So I just had to put that in
I
there.
don't know if you noticed, but this bus seems to be made out of, you know, the same stuff that they injected into Wolverine.
Yeah,
You know,
I think
it's
so.
like the amount of cars that it absolutely destroys. And
Yeah.
it's like hardly even dented.
Doesn't even
And
drop
buses
speed.
are literally made out of like, you know, thin tube steel frames
Yep.
with a bit of like, you know, roofing iron around the outside.
sheet metal,
And
yeah.
sheet metal. that's
Sprayed
it.
aluminium
Yeah,
over
with
that.
sprayed aluminium, yeah. They are not battering rams.
So one bit I really liked was when they commandeer the network guys to tape the tape, to loop the tape.
Oh, I know what you're gonna say.
And I just feel like the editing guy, the camera guy, you know, and he's like, you know, McMahon's like, yeah, okay, tape it. All right, play it. And the guy is just like, I'm sick of all the intensity in this film. He's like, it's taping. He's just like, Jesus.
But that's the thing with McMahon. I'm going to go into a bit of McMahon here because he just seems like a new captain to me. Seems like he hasn't been on the job that long because he seems like he's a bit all over the place. The fired thing, like he panics a bit with the fired. And just that whole exchange when the one thing that bothered me about him was when they do that stupid plot at the airport where they get Jack to get on that little trolley and go under the bus, right? So, I mean, that's stupid in its own right, but when everything goes wrong, not only do they just show them just standing there doing nothing at the back of the shot, like surely that'd be an important part of the shot because it's glaringly obvious that while he's struggling, stabbing the bloody petrol tank, they're just standing there just like, But then his only reaction once he gets in the bus was, how many lads have you got, man? Like he's all like laughing and stuff.
Not
like,
looking out for his man. You know?
Like this is not responsible. Like, come on, man. Like you're...
Speaking of crazy irresponsible from the LAPD, the plan to wedge the pedal and tie the wheel and then get the hell off the bus.
I know.
Like, as the LAPD, how can you make that decision to just let a bus with a lot of explosives on it, like
in an airport,
drive around the airport?
Well, I guess the issue is that to get off without it losing too much speed, for it to go into the 50 and blow everyone up is one thing.
Nice.
Yep. The bus could not slow down or it would blow up. Okay.
Yes.
So
I'm with you on that.
So I can see why they're trying to jam the pedal, but I agree though, because I don't know what the rope did. What did the rope do?
Like the rope stopped the wheel from turning?
Because of the
it was
blown
supposed
tires,
to keep
right?
doing circles, but Sandra Bullock and her shitty knot tying abilities sends the bus on a journey of its own, you know, like...
But like how I don't.
What's the thought
was
process?
The plan that was it tied straight to just like run off the end of a runway and hit a wall or something? Like what was the thought after? Let's get Jack and Annie off the bus.
See, my assumption would be that you get the bus going incredibly fast with the other bus.
I'm gonna speed it up.
Yeah. We'll get to that. So yeah, I'm on board with this film. So you get to go incredibly fast with the other bus going incredibly fast with it. So then by the time you get everyone off and the bus away, it slows down to the point where... Because if it's just going a bit over 50 and they don't have the...
Yeah, but how do they not know that it's not going to be next to a terminal when that happens?
I don't know.
Do you know what I mean? Like, how can you just go... Let's get the people off and then whatever.
Well, see, I mean...
They got 14 people off the bus.
And it drove into a fucking plane. Like it destroyed a jumbo jet.
But it was
it was a freight
plane that was
plane.
going to be scrapped anyway because it had no doors on it.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it had no doors.
It was like an old freight plane. I
Yeah,
think.
it was going to be scrapped. But it's that thing, like,
But it could have hit the guy bloody towing it.
Well, exactly right. Or it could have been they got 14 people off the bus, but it crashes into a terminal and kills 280.
Well,
Kills,
no,
like-
but I mean that's Sandra Bullock's shitty knot tying because, like I think
No, we're not even...
No.
No, forget that part.
She shouldn't even
No.
have to tie anything in the
Why
first
are they
place.
letting a civilian tie the knot?
Well,
to
that's-
start with.
that's-
What if
Jack's
what
fault.
if the bus was travelling towards the end of... So not the terminal end, the end of the runway where it's usually just paddock and
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
dams and
Was
shit.
that their original plan? But even then,
I don't
that's a
think
gamble.
so.
Sure it is. Especially if the wheels are turning because of the blown tyres, which is why she was struggling to keep it under control, because the tyres that had seemed to have been blown for hours by this point were finally getting too hard to control.
What I would like to suggest, that there should have been an Apollo 13 kind of situation where this thing's happened, my hand is high like it's in space,
Yeah.
and now my other hand is down on the ground,
Yes.
where there's this team of people going, we need to make this
Yes.
work
Yes.
to get these people home. How is there not a room full of people going, how are we going to get this bus to stop? How are we
Doesn't
going to
it-
defuse this bomb?
Here's a question.
Nah, let's just let it run off the runway and hit whatever.
Does Captain McMahon seem like the type of captain that would do that, Al?
Ooh.
This all comes back to how
Back to
shit a
Captain
Captain McMahon is.
Poor
Yeah.
leadership.
It
All
is.
right.
What about the
Fucking
chief?
just
Who's the
fucking
chief?
tie some rope around it and let it go. It'll blow up.
Let's go to the pub again.
It'll blow up. No one's on it. Whatever.
Let's shoot Harry again.
Yeah.
So
Where's Harry? Oh, wait.
They couldn't have that guy because the guy that plays that guy in Apollo 13 was making Forrest Gump at the same time.
Oh,
So
good point.
They couldn't use that guy. They probably tried to get that guy to make the things, but
So he was
busy,
problem
so,
solving
yeah.
for Forrest Gump. I like that.
really quick,
Lieutenant Dan.
but really quickly, the plane that the bus runs into has got Pacific Courier Freight written on the side of
I
it.
saw this.
And apparently, now I haven't clarified for this myself. Thank you, Internet. Pacific Courier Freight are the vans that are driven by the terrorists in Die Hard. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Nice.
interesting. I mean, obviously, he's being the director of cinematography on Die Hard.
Interesting. I brought up Apollo 13 before. This is going a long story. It's not that long. Shh. All right. So when we're off the bus now, Annie's been kidnapped. He's picked up the money, and they're going up the up the stairs in the subway tunnel.
Yep.
And Jack pulls his gun, and he's like, "Turn around!"
Oh,
And it's Annie, right? Now I swear, I for some reason I haven't realised it until now, but I feel like I've felt this every time I've watched it. Every time she turns around, there's a little part of me that wishes she was in on it,
Yeah.
yeah.
right? And she's there with the money, and she's like, I'm sorry, Jack, but I was working with him. Ooh. So, which was, obviously not the case, but
Big twist on that film.
That would have been a
would have
really
been a great
good
twist. Now,
That would have been really good. I like that.
back to
Nice.
the
Okay.
Apollo 13 reference that I coincidentally made. Apparently, Ed Harris, who's in Apollo 13, was going to be cast as Harry, right, instead of Jeff Daniels, and he was going to be the bomber. That was going to be a twist.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, I thought the same thing.
Wow, that would have been really cool.
That would have
I
been a much
suppose-
better film.
But I suppose they didn't want to make it too complex and too
No.
twisted because all the nufties and dumbasses out there would be
it's
like,
a very
"Whoa."
balls to the wall action film.
Yeah. Of course.
And when you think about it, it is really simple. It's like 3 acts. There's like the lift, the bus, excuse me, and the
Fucking train.
and the train, which we're clearly about to delve into. But it is very straightforward.
Yeah.
They might as well be like Keanu Reeves might as well all be in white. Dennis Hopper might as well all be in black with a twirly mustache and a top hat. Which works great and it works fine. And I think it would have got too complicated.
Some films just aren't made to be complicated, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
end of the
this-
day.
And this is
I mean, what are people going to watch when they're sick? Seriously.
yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Transformers.
Before I feel
Gone
like
in
we're
60
going to get
seconds.
into the train scene here, but I have to go back. All right, we just have to mention the jump.
Do we really?
We do.
do.
We have
We
to
do.
mention
We
the
have to,
jump.
It's
Like
like
we have
the
to.
scene.
It's the scene. We can't just brush past this one. I'm just going to say, yeah, flat chat wouldn't happen. No.
They jumped the bus.
They jumped the bus.
It was a real bus. Like it was a real jump.
yes.
The gap wasn't as far.
They broke a camera, didn't they?
It was on wires.
No wires.
Wasn't it being
No.
held up by
No,
wires?
it was a bus. They jumped that bus.
Yeah.
Jumped the bus. There was a ramp, but it was digitally removed.
No, you could see it.
Oh, could you?
No,
on
you
most of the
can't.
stunts, the bit where the bus goes around the corner at 80 mile an hour,
Oh,
you can see all the things underneath.
you're
it
talking about
holding
the
bus.
hydraulic ramp
Yeah,
to lift
yeah,
it up.
it's like
No.
there's a lot of crappiness in that.
For the jump though, see, this is what bothered me. Is I'm like, the bus just lurches itself into this air for no reason. Now
It's like a lion attacking its prey.
Yeah, they
Dukes of Hazzard style.
they digitally removed the ramp, but I'm like, surely you leave it in there and just disguise it as some kind of end of freeway barrier. Because that's kind of what bothered me. If you have it so that it's like, oh look, it's just a pile of sandbags that have, for some weird reason, conveniently placed to make a ramp, that would make sense. But the part that makes it so unbelievable is the fact that the bus just launches itself up.
Plus,
And
it's on a bend too. That kind
Yeah.
of always bothered me. Like,
I feel like what could have worked is if the freeway wasn't going to match up.
it was like a huge stuff up.
And it was a massive stuff, which is why they'd stopped. They got this close and they're like, Barry, this isn't going to meet. We've done something wrong here. And so they've stopped, and therefore the jump kind of makes more sense.
Yeah.
That's what I thought about too.
absolutely.
It's like if you're looking at the actual when they the long shot of the bit that's missing in the bridge, it's a pretty random spot to have a bit missing. like right on a bend, sort of everything else is done, like literally done, like the lines are painted on the road and everything. But there's this one bit missing.
That they completely.
It's like,
haven't even started.
sorry, that bit's on back order. It'll be here in
Maybe the
6 to 8
workers went on
weeks.
2
strike.
weeks, mate.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe.
the thing is, right, so they weren't actually going to put the jump scene into the movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't originally
Wasn't there.
scripted until they realised, hey, there's this bit of freeway missing up there, and we've already done the lines and everything. You know, like so,
Yeah.
like let's use that. And that's when they came up with the whole bus jumping scene and train scene at the end. Again, hadn't like when they first what do they call it, like a previewing, or they do
They do screeners.
screeners. Yeah, they hadn't actually shot the train scene yet. It was just storyboards that they threw up on screen or something. Wasn't they?
Okay.
So they'd had the whole sequence of the elevator, then they had the bus sequence, and then they they hadn't filmed the scene until they kind of got the train scene until they got audience approval that the movie was actually all right, and then they went back and shot all the train scenes afterwards. So I guess there was a few people that weren't convinced that it was going to do all right.
Yeah. I don't know. So Tim,
Yeah.
tell me, because you'll be the guy that knows this.
Yes.
If I needed to stop a train,
Yes.
I couldn't.
Yep.
Speeding it up is the right way to go, right? Like,
All right. I'm going to speed it up. This is probably the dumbest decision I've ever seen in my life.
worst.
Only because, okay, there are two things you can go. Okay, the brakes are busted. That's fine. Trains can go slow. They can go super slow. And if you slow it right down, sure, it's not going to stop because there are no brakes. But if you can slow it right down, when it gets to the end of the track, it'll go ding. And then
credits.
Versus,
and then you look around and you realize you're in an area where they're working on a track and go, oh, hey, can you just grab that saw or whatever and just kind of cut my girlfriend free? Oh, I'm with the LAPD. Oh, yeah, no worries. What happened? Oh, I'll tell you later
Long
over a beer.
story.
But instead, the guy's got a death wish, obviously, because he's failed to get Bodhi. He's mad. Harry is gone. We haven't talked about Harry dying, but spoilers. The whole thing's filled with spoilers anyway. His best mate in the Force is now dead. The guy doesn't give a shit anymore. So, but it fits in with the film. I'm not gonna sit here and say that if he slowed it right down, it would have been a great ending.
That's the thing.
It wouldn't have been. It would have been bloody rubbish. If the credits rolled as there's this guy just cutting her out of the pole. It would have been credits roll.
it would have been one of the most believable things in the whole film, though. You would have sat there and gone, "Hey, yeah, this makes sense." Yeah,
Do you know what I
Good
would've-
decision,
yeah,
Jack.
nice, yeah,
Good
well done.
decision.
You know what I would have loved to have seen, right? Fade to black, credits, right? All the credits, post-credit scene.
Jeez, we might have to get.
Dink. Oh, we're free. Great.
It's like,
Fade
no,
to black.
dink. There you go.
Yeah. So one
But
thing.
the cool thing about it was that whole crashing scene was another model, I think.
Yeah, that was all
Wasn't
model
it?
work, yeah.
You can talk about the
That was
models.
good models. They were good.
Yeah, I love it. I mean,
They were really
you
good.
can-
But knowing that, because I read that before seeing the scene again, watching it, knowing it, I was just like, this is cool. Like, this is a really
yeah.
cool scene.
And then the train popping out
Yeah.
on Hollywood Boulevard.
Looked awesome.
Yeah, but it's a bus.
Yes.
Apparently disguised as a train.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they retrofitted a bus to make it.
I tell you what I really liked. I have these problems of like bloody film nerding it up. The train went past Man's Chinese Theatre, which is like one of
Super famous.
the 2001 Space Odyssey was playing. Just so you know.
Really?
Yeah. At the time.
How about that? So there's a disturbing part at the end of the film when the credits are rolling, where after the train's done its epic slide down the street, and it comes on the side and blah blah blah, and
Hits the car.
bumps into the car. Yeah, it gives a little
Oh
show.
my god! I can't believe he hit the van.
So
Like,
the
dude,
part,
it's a train.
Train has just come out of the ground.
Oh, my van!
And you almost died.
Oh my god!
Bloody New Yorkers. Oh, we know LA wasn't
LA.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right. So the disturbing part is the fact. Okay, so Jack and Annie, they're making out, and all the crowd swarming around the train. They're all like, "Oh, isn't that nice? Isn't that nice?"
Filming it.
Forgetting about the fact that there's a corpse in the front of the train. The poor train driver who was shot to death no more than 3 minutes earlier. I was like, nobody seems to be freaking out about this dead guy who's lying there.
Which was Richard Schiff too.
Richard Schiff?
Yeah, he's seen The West Wing.
No.
You've
I
seen,
heard it's good though.
You've seen stuff he's in. Trust
Richard
me.
Schiff. Oh, I have to check it
Richard
out.
Schiff,
Richard, there you go, everybody. The train driver is Richard Schiff. So
10
I
points.
find it really disturbing that everyone's just kind of like, oh, taking photos. And,
They're really filming them though. Like
Yeah.
they're getting pretty hot.
yeah.
And they're really filming. They're like,
Well, that's it.
this
What?
train has just popped out of
Well,
the
they're in
ground.
Hollywood. That's all about filming.
Yeah. Well, oh, there you go.
And they're from LA, so, dead guys everywhere, especially in 94.
Yeah, 94. Yeah.
That looks just another dead guy. Oh, how about that? So yeah.
I'll kick things off. There was no fucking way I was getting up to make a sandwich during this one.
No way.
What was the San Dimas scale again?
My
Al?
San Dimas scale. Oh, the San Dimas scale for you playing at home is we rate everything on a percentage compared to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. So Bill and Ted's is 100%, right? So we could rate something less than 100% because it's not as good as Bill and Ted's. Maybe it's better than Bill and Ted's, so we could give it a higher percentage than that.
Yeah. Timmy, firstly, sandwiches, yes or no?
No, I didn't. I don't think I didn't even get up to pee. So yeah.
Cool. All right, Jules, sandwiches?
No way, man.
I'm going to have to say there was it wasn't sandwiches, it was a bowl of yogurt, but so one sandwich for me.
But
One
before we
sandwich.
started this,
Whoa.
you said before we started this that memories were lovely.
Yeah.
But the reality when you sat down was not good.
There's some things you shouldn't revisit.
Okay.
So my memories of this film was this was absolutely gold. I loved this film when I was a kid. And then the other night I sat down and watched it, and about 10 minutes in I found myself just going, "Oh my god."
How long had it been? How long had it been since you've seen it?
15 years.
Okay, so we're talking a decent amount.
Yeah,
of time,
decent
right?
amount of time. So it's kind of rewatching this has almost wrecked it for me. I would have liked to have not seen it and would have held a much higher standard.
Sure.
Yeah. I just found myself in so many things. Like my notes for this film, pretty much there's 4 lines. They say terrible stunts, terrible acting, cheesy one-liners that make no sense, and the music my wife sang for 3 days afterwards.
I know, right? How good is it?
It was good. To the fact where I'm pretty sure she has actually found it, downloaded it, and is just going to spring it on me in the next couple of days.
There are 2 soundtracks. So they released a soundtrack in, I think it was June, which was the songs inspired by Speed, which included the Speed, give me what I need.
Oh, yeah.
And then in...
Was that Billy Idol?
It was Billy Idol.
Yeah.
And then in August, I think the same year, they released the
actual motion picture
score.
soundtrack.
But for some weird reason, the score wasn't in the order that it's in the film. They did it... Whatever. Anyway.
Sandwiches.
Oh no, I gave it no sandwiches.
No sandwiches, all right.
And
I gave it 1 bowl of yogurt.
One bowl of yogurt. And I'm going to... Look, this is going to upset you, Brad. I'm going to give it a very high rating. I'm going to give it a 98%.
Whoa.
This, there's something about it, I don't know. I didn't necessarily, enjoy myself, but, I was there. I was in it. I was watching this film, and it was great.
You know what? I'm probably on the same line because it's a sick film, and I only choose sick films that I really enjoy.
And just to clarify, not like that was a really sick film.
Oh my god! No,
Not as in fully.
no.
Just as in
If I
sick.
can be a little bit out of it and still watch this quite easily, then it ranks well for me. So I would look. I'd probably give it in the 80% somewhere, probably about an 87 or something, maybe.
Nice.
All right. Well, you know what? So the way I tried to figure out the San Dimas scale for this is if I had to choose a movie to watch all day, this one day, if I had to watch it, 20 times in a day, I'd probably go with Speed. So I'm kind of tipping the scales here and saying that I reckon I'm going to give it 110% on the San Dimas scale for the simple fact. Now, I'll kind of try to figure out why.
I think Jules is sick. We should give him something.
I'm a sportsy, adrenaline, hard, fast guy. That's my whole life is like that. So I just love this movie because it's so action packed and it's just so full on, and it just caters to what I'm looking for so well. So if I had to choose between watching Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure 100 times and watching Speed 100 times, I'd probably go with Speed, but only just. So I'm going to give it 110% on the San Dimas scale.
Well justified. No.
Thank
So
you.
if I rocked up to you and said Speed or Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and you go, "What? Which one to watch?" and I say, "No, which one to watch first?" You'd pick Speed.
I'd pick Speed first.
Very good.
And then probably watch it again.
Yeah.
And then do Bill and Ted. Nice. Well,
Bradley.
And
Brad.
look, I'm not going to say that I probably won't watch it again. I probably will, and I'm not going to say that it was the hour and 20 minutes or whatever it was that I want my time back. But it's no Bill and Ted's, not even in the same ballpark. Even though it does share the whole Keanu thing. So I'll give it out of on the Sam Dimas scale. Let's see. I'd still probably rate it better than Inner Space, just because of that whole Martin Short thing.
yeah, good call.
Anyway, just me and him, we just don't get along.
Yeah, fair cool.
I'm gonna go 70.
Okay.
70%?
71. 71.
That's
That's
71.
It's pretty good. It's not a bad score.
So it wasn't. Look, it was terrible, but it was kind of so terrible that kind of makes it like cult.
It's laughable,
Yeah.
Well played. All right. Well,
So it's time for, I know my favourite segment, podcasting a wider net.
Ooh.
And
How's that work out?
this is where I try and broaden the audience's narrow perspective. I'm just like, maybe they, well,
insults the audience.
it's because it's Mum, right? I'm like, Mum, you need to get out there and listen to some more stuff. It's not just this. And I hunt down the internets for you, and I find some other podcasts that have done the same film, and probably better, to be honest.
Didn't you find us a podcast once that was in Swedish or something?
Yeah, it wasn't in my language.
For Point Break, I think it was.
It's not working so well so far.
Yeah, okay.
It's okay.
Nice. Sure.
So this week, I have a couple of good ones. One called the No Pancakes Podcast. It's like another 4 blokes. Their last 4 films have been on Keanu Reeves, right?
Ooh.
Excellent.
Obsession.
The most current one was Point Break. The one before that, and this was like last week that it came out,
Oh, really?
was Speed.
Oh, really? I'm listening to that.
I got...
4 blokes sitting in a room talking about the Keanu films.
Are you sure there's not some kind of time warp and it's actually just us in an alternate reality?
It's an alternate universe. It's us.
There are a lot more episodes in, and they got a theme song, and it's a lot more polished. Anyway,
So it's us if we were organised.
they spoke for like 45 minutes, and they still hadn't gotten to Speed, so I just turned it off. I was like, oh, okay. Just wondering about the movie. I found another one called The Infinite Monkey Cage, and it's from BBC 4, and it's with Professor Brian Cox, and it was like an actual scientific podcast about speed. Like,
like you mean like
not the movie,
not the
but
movie,
like
the physics,
like
of
the
it.
physics and the
Oh, right,
measurement
yeah.
of speed. So,
yeah.
hey, if that's your thing, I'm
Yeah.
quite looking forward to going back to listening to
We
it.
should have got that guy on the podcast.
Quite interesting.
What do you think, Doctor? Well,
But in all seriousness, there is another podcast. It's called I Was There Too. It's by a guy called Matt Gawley, and he talks to people that were in, famous scenes of cinema, but not
the main
necessarily the main part. He interviewed Greg Proops, who was the 2-headed alien from Star Wars. Things like that. So he actually sits down with about 6 or 7 of the bus passengers and gets effectively the same story, of them filming, but from 6 different angles. It's really fantastic, actually. I really enjoyed it, and I listen to that podcast regularly too. So
it is a good podcast.
it's a good
I can
podcast.
recommend it.
Yeah.
I might check that out.
So that's what I've got for podcasting a wider net this week. I hope I've broadened everybody's opinion, and
I feel smarter.
Very good. Well, I think it's probably about time we started thinking ahead to
Ooh, next time.
Yeah.
next week. And
So
the
Whose go
last,
is it?
well, the last of the 4 is you, Bradley.
Oh, me? Yeah, of course.
Because I chose the first one being Point Break. Al chose Inner Space, and Speed was Julian's baby.
thank you.
So
Clearly.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Well, I've got a couple backed up, but I think I'm going to go for something that
It's going to be old, I bet.
it's definitely going to be old. Absolutely.
Like Brad.
like me. Didn't see this one at the cinemas though, but it's younger than me. So I'm going to go something pretty classic 80s, probably in the middle somewhere. So Highlander.
Haven't seen it.
Haven't seen it.
Really?
Haven't seen it.
Prepare to be dazzled by
Oh, Jesus.
some of the greatest acting you will ever see. Yeah.
Oh, you blokes are in for a ride. Far out.
Can I just say something before we do watch Highlander, and just keep this in the back of your mind? It's one of those films where I've loved it ever since I was a kid. Absolutely loved it. But just think about it. And of all these films that are being remade at the moment that don't need to be remade, consider watching Highlander and think, if they remade this, would it be any better?
Okay.
All right. So
It's
think
just
about
something to
that.
ponder.
Good question.
Yeah. Because, there's a lot of films. So Point Break did not need to be remade.
No.
Dirty Dancing did not need to be remade. All these other films did not need to be remade. But Highlander's that one where I've watched it. As much as I loved it, I've gone, this could have been. Like, if this was done now, this could be
And
really...
Point Break was remade like 8 times.
Really?
Yeah, it was called Fast and the Furious.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that's it. I'm out of here. See ya.
I think we should leave it on that.
Fantastic.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks for coming out. It's been a pleasure. You've been listening to San Dimas School of Film. Send us an email at
sandemusfilm@gmail.com.
or just
Just talk to us on Facebook, I guess.
Stalk us on Facebook and turn up outside our house or something.